You're welcome back to the Pulse here on Joy News, also available on our social media platforms. Now, let's move to some other stories now. And how much of illicit financial flows drawing back the economy? It is estimated that stopping commodity illicit financial flows will be a game changer for the economy. Let's connect with Dr. Fred Zanku, a development economist with ISA, and he joins me more on this via Zoom. Dr. Zanku, good afternoon and welcome.
And thank you for having me.
I remember I was at an AU conference in Ethiopia some few years back, about 2 years ago. The annual AU conference that brought together all African heads of states. And the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, he was tasked to look at illicit financial flow, and he provided a very comprehensive report on how this is hurting the African economy. Now, you have been looking into this issue. How big is the illicit financial flows on the continent before we come to the Ghanaian situation?
All right, thank you very much. So what we do know is that you cited the Thabo Mbeki report, which was a comprehensive report that looked at the continent and provided some estimates of how much Africa may be losing as a result of illicit financial flows. And for those who may want to know, when we say illicit financial flows, is basically any funds that has been illegally earned, transferred, or utilized that siphons away funds that could have otherwise been used for development. And we know that Africa is underdeveloped. One of the reasons is not because we do not have the resources, but the way the resources are managed and utilized for development. So that background is important. So to come back to the magnitudes, the magnitudes that are put out there in the Thabo Mbeki report is one of the reasons why we decided to do our research, because the method, you see, when you talk about statistics, if you get your statistics right, you may not be able to develop the right mechanism to address the problem. So what they did was basically to look at, you look at the destination countries, the volume and the value of resources that leaves the country and what is reported in other countries. If there is a mismatch, the value of that mismatch is put together with other sources of illicit flows such as corruption, money laundering, and so on. They put it together and came up with that large magnitude, billions of US dollars. But our research over the past 6 years has been trying to dig into the micro data, the transaction level data, to be able to come up with values that are more credible, because if you have good data, better estimates, then you are at the beginning of addressing the problem.
So let me, if I may ask, since the AU tasked the former president of South Africa, Thabo Mbeki, to undertake this job, has there been improvement in terms of the volumes that leave the continent?
Well, right now we do not have any credible estimates, but what we do know, as the SDGs themselves, put as an agenda, is that IFFs, or illicit financial flows, is still a big problem, because corruption has not reduced as much as we would like to see. Illicit activities are on the rise. If you have conflicts in the sub-region and all kinds of illegal activities happening, then I would say that these illicit financial flows are not being curbed the way we would like to see.
So really, what is the challenge here? Is it the case that we don't have the needed regulations to stop it, or there are so many loopholes that those involved are exploiting, and to what level does this hurt the economies on the continent, especially Ghana?
There are a number of reasons. I would argue, I'm not a lawyer. In our research team, we have lawyers working on this subject, but the lawyers argue that it is not the lack of regulation per se, right? We have yesterday our lawyer on the project listed a number of laws that Ghana has that can be used to address this problem. We normally talk about the whole issue of political will. I dare say that it's not just political will, because we as citizens give power to the people who rule.
Absolutely.
So we need more than political will. We need also the will of the people to engender change. So yes, political will is one of them, but also even just information and building the capacity of the tax authorities to be able to detect this. I was looking at the budget that was read by the minister yesterday, and we've been having challenges in terms of revenue mobilization and expenditures.
Yes.
And I saw that it's only about 12% of this year so far are expenditures that went into capital expenditures. And we know that we have a huge infrastructure gap, and therefore we need more revenue to spend. So we need to build the capacity of the tax authorities, first of all, to be able to detect illicit financial flows. We need to build the capacity of those who are collecting the data, the Ghana Statistical Service, to be able to harmonize this data, collaborate with the customs, to be able to tell us what the magnitudes of the problem is.
Right.
When we know what the magnitude of the problem is and the causes of the problem, then we can start to address these.
So the impact is having on the economy.
Well, the impact. So our estimate, at the time that we did this study, we estimated that around 11% of gold, because we focused on trade-related illicit financial flows, which meant that we're looking at possible cases of under-invoicing in order to evade the right, amount of tax that is supposed to be paid. And we estimated that around 11% of these trade flows could be illicit, right, in the gold sector. And if you take that and juxtapose it with how much we are spending on capital expenditure for this year, which is just about 12% out of our total expenditure, it tells you the magnitude of the problem that we have on our hands.
Does this have any relationship at all with money laundering?
Well, money laundering is part of illicit financial flows, right? So it's part of it. It's a comprehensive thing. We just looked at the trade-related illicit financial flows, but money laundering is an important part of the problem.
So what do you suggest so that our leaders move away from the rhetoric into action?
Right. So let's look at, first of all, low-hanging fruits, right? Let's look at things that we can address immediately. One major thing that we can address immediately is, as I said before, train the tax authorities, here I'm talking about customs, GRA, to be able to properly value these commodities, work with the industry players, the Ghana Chamber of Mines, to understand what is going on, because the pricing systems can be such complex that if you go to a specialized industry and they give you what their prices and their profits are, if you're not properly trained to be able to verify and interrogate, you will not be able to give an alternative value for which you can get the tax that you need. So I would focus, first of all, on building the capacity of the tax authorities to be able to detect this. I would also focus on a better collaboration between institutions. We have several institutions in the space that sometimes these institutions are not communicating with each other. So let's have, institutions, a collaboration between institutions so that we can have a harmonized system that will be able to deal with it. So these are low-hanging fruits. Then we can talk about the whole issue about the politicians. Let the people show the politicians and those who are supposed to be making the decisions that they are watching, and that if the right things are not done, they would have their say.
All right, Dr. Fred Zanku, I want to say thank you very much. Perhaps we will look forward to putting your report finally out there so that we can firmly analyze it. He's a development consultant. We've been talking about illicit financial flow, especially on the continent, and it's a major issue. Every Africa Union meeting that I've had the opportunity to attend, it's always been an issue that, is of concern to our leaders.